Hello and welcome to today's video. As you can tell, there's another vehicle in the garage. This is a 1995 Solectria E10. It is in for repair / refurbishment to get it back up and running. I picked this up in Indianapolis over the weekend, and once it's up and running, it will be shipped to Canada. Which is kind of unfortunate because I have a history with this exact Solectria E10. This is the one that we got to drive around when we were in college, well, when I was in college. So around 2001, 2002, we did Comedy Central's BattleBots, and we built a BattleBot for the school. If you go look on my website, you'll see there's a BattleBot section on there. And we were in the electric vehicle lab, which had the BattleBot, had electric forklift, it had the Solectria E10 in there, and a Formula Lightning electric race car that they would take out and do races like once a month or so. And this particular vehicle is part of the Department of Energy grant to do some battery research. And so it's been heavily modified. I've already looked at it. It's going to take some wiring to get it back to original. And but we got to drive this around. Like if there was needed to bring some raw materials in, it was in the way. They gave us the keys. We would drive it. We would go and drive it around and do food runs and things like that. But yeah, it was a great little vehicle to drive. I loved it. Now this is a 1995, and this is 2001, 2002. So it was like 7 years old when I got to drive it. But I fell in love with it. I was like, wow, this is the future. Why aren't we all driving this? Thing's 7 years old and not everybody has electric vehicles yet. This thing's perfect. 60-mile range, just like my 96. When my 96 came up on eBay, that's why I purchased it, is because of this guy. I got to drive this one around. I fell in love with it. It's a great little truck, and electric ever since. But anyways, it's kind of a shame that's going to get fixed up and get shipped to Canada, but that's just how things are. It's in fairly decent condition. It's been, like I said, heavily modified. It's probably had many different battery types in it. It's got all kinds of mount holes and things that they've added to the battery boxes. The paint's it's starting to rust in some areas. You could get some bubbling here at the across here starting to occur. It's pretty old, but it should have been inside for most of the time. It's got a bunch of scratches. For some reason, both mirrors are gone. Actually, one of them's inside the vehicle, fell off. But there's some deep scratches in here. It looks like somebody probably had some metal leaning up against it. Some just like metal panels and stock and stuff. Yeah, but there's some scratches that are all the way down to the primer. So yeah. She's been through a lot. The inside of the bed's not in too bad a shape. Got some scratches here and there, and a beer cap. But yeah, this is still says Solectria on the back. You can see the IUPUI bumper sticker that used to be on it. But yeah, I actually drove this. Oh, when I transported it, I took the you can see under here, I took the belts out so that I could more easily ship it. They say you're supposed to do that, but both the motors seem to spin pretty free. I can spin them up there, and you can see they happily keep on spinning. So the bearings are still pretty good in it. The thing's only got 11,000 or so miles on it. It still has the ARPA sticker on it from the Department of Energy. Came with a box of parts with the biggest Anderson connectors I've ever seen. Obviously they were hooking this directly up to the motor controllers and then running some massive cables here to a battery pack. So these are pretty big. That's a huge cable. It's like it's either, I know this is 2 gauge coming out of here, so this is probably, I don't know, aught, maybe double aught. What they probably did is the drives are connected down there, and they probably snuck that up through here, and they had something in the bed. We weird dents here in the wheel wells, so they probably had something wedged in here. Fuel cell, who knows? Big battery pack in the bed of the truck instead of underneath in the battery boxes. But so I got this whole big box of parts. The other mirror is missing here. This side's got a little dent in it, but it's not too bad. The other side definitely was, this side was probably up against the wall. And tires in pretty good shape. But the last time it was on the road, according to the vehicle registration that was in the glove box, was 2012. If it'll focus. So expired in on July 3rd of 2012. So it's been off the road for at least 4 years, and you can see trustees of IU for IUPUI of Indiana. So this is IUPUI's truck, the same one I drove. I still can't get over that. It's like one of those small world kind of things. Here are the belts when I took the back battery cover off, and the belts I took out. This is the top of the front battery box. This is, I don't know if I'm going to be able to, probably one of the students drew out the schematic, wiring schematic for the vehicle on this piece of poster board. So I would assume that that's how it's currently wired. They've added in, they've got some extra stuff for a DAC board, and there's some extra wire taps and things like that that they've added. I've got this really complicated thing going on over here. So I have to get that all back to stock. What else do we got? These are the two drives, motor controllers. Somebody's cut off the brake. These go to the brakes to tell it, brake relay for regenerative braking to tell it turn on. One drive is still labeled as it's an AMC 325, which is kind of odd for this vehicle because typically they have AMC 320s, and I've also seen like the 94s had AMC 230s, and these guys definitely seen better days. The copper's starting to rust, turn a little green. Connectors have all gotten pretty rusty. This drive, I don't know. Somebody has taken the connector port off, or the connector off of here, the side, and they've added a cable, which has been cut off, to monitor. Plugs into the monitor port / programming port. So my guess is this drive has issues since somebody was trying to fix it. It's also missing the mounting bracket has come off of it. So probably there's actually I've actually had to make this for another drive. There's actually a video on my website of me making a mounting bracket for that to replace the one that was missing. So it must be a common thing that those come off. Yeah, let's go ahead and pop the hood here. And this has got the older style, well, I call it older style, center console here. Also, not a good sign when it's not bolted in. It is just sitting there. So I say this is the older style because it's got this small switch here that sets forward reverse. This is your heater. The decal here is gone. This is regen on and off. I don't know what this switch does. That's something they've added. And then power settings controlled by this potentiometer. The gauges say that this is probably a 144 volt truck. Actually, I think I know that because the DC to DC converter says 144 volts on it. The some parts down in there, there's the mirror, and the cover for the fuse box is sitting on the floor there. Behind here we've got the two BC 1000 battery chargers. Those guys are still in here. There's this extra box here that doesn't have anything in it. That's some kind of addition. Got a lot of extra wires coming out of here, and looks like there's some lot of extra stuff going on. So I have to test to make sure that the battery chargers are working. This truck does not have air conditioning, but it does have the cold weather option. So it does have the heat pads, which both came with it. So, but one of them's damaged, so I don't know how easy it will be to get that back up and running. I mean, Canada gets cold. So we need to have that. So under the hood here, very spacious, because the battery chargers are in the back behind the seat. In my truck, the battery charger sits over here. Don't have air conditioning, so let me flip you around this way. So there's no radiator. Grill's completely empty. I think if you wanted to add it, might be able to. I'm not sure. We've got a whole 4 vacuum pumps. Very tiny vacuum reservoir for the brakes. So I have to check, make sure those are still operational. Power steering motor, looks like it spins free. It's not seized up or anything. The only interesting, scary thing is that everything is unplugged. DC to DC converter is unplugged, both on the 12-volt side. High voltage side's also unplugged. High voltage side for the power steering's unplugged. So I don't know if somebody was troubleshooting something. It's definitely had seen better days. There's been some modifications in here. We were missing one of the fuses is gone. Yeah, this looks like a nightmare in here with electrical tape. So probably it looks like somebody lost the fuse there and put an inline some kind. So I have to work on that. Yeah, there's just a lot of wires that are not hooked to anything. There should be 2 cables coming in through here for the main, to get power out of the front battery box, but they're missing. We've got this cable, which should actually be behind, so it shouldn't be in the front battery box like that. Somebody pulled it up through. This is a thermocouple, temperature probe. Not sure what that goes to. It won't focus anyway. So yeah, there's definitely going to need to be some wiring going on, especially since we're missing the 2 cables that go back to the rear battery box to go to the distribution. I won't lift the back gate, but under there, battery box is pretty sparse. It's got a bunch of parts in it for no interconnects. I think all the interconnects might be in that box sitting in the front seat. But yeah, anyways, that's what's going on. Hopefully get this puppy back up and running. So the lithium-ion upgrade is going to be delayed for a little bit while I get this up and running, and then I can get it out, and then I can but that's okay. I got to finish a layout on my little adapter that's plugging into the BMS, so this works out pretty good, because it'll take a couple weeks for the boards to get made, parts to come in, and then in the meantime we can work on this guy and probably document everything, take some videos, and get her back up and running. Anyways, this video is pretty long, so thanks for watching. Bye.